You build on failure. You use it as a stepping stone. Close the door on the past. You don't try to forget the mistakes, but you don't dwell on it. You don't let it have any of your energy or any of your time or any of your space. That is a quote by Johnny Cash. You use it as a stepping stone. Failure is a stepping stone. Welcome, everybody, to this edition of Finding Your Feet After Failure. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Marriet Visser. Hi, Marriet.
Hello there, Lois. It's so nice to be with you. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you
I
here.
heard everybody out there as well. So happy I can share just things that happen and pearls of wisdom that came from it.
Okay, great. So, Marriet, let me tell you a little bit about Marriet. She is a seasoned task and productivity expert. During her career of over 36 years as an information technology or IT expert, an analyst and trainer, she has delivered multiple projects. Marriott also participated in multiple community projects and offered life coaching. She acquired diverse experience in mobilizing people and their skills to complete their tasks successfully. She finds she is now able to add value to her clients. She draws her insights from successful projects, successful teams, and successful people. And most importantly, for me, she teaches people how to fail forward with all the lessons that she has learned. Welcome, Marriet.
Thank you, Lois.
So glad to have you here today. So, to start off our discussion, do you want to share a small mistake or a small failure that you have made in your life?
Lois, I can offer you a burnt offering at the speed of light. I just somehow burn food very quickly and easily. I have learned the hard way that if I don't stand over the pot and watch it, I will have a burnt offering in there. And so I have to babysit it. I can't leave the kitchen. I get distracted. Then I end up actually losing track that there's something going on that I'm supposed to actually be involved with. So my domestic helper, she taught me something valuable. I think she had enough of cleaning burnt pots. She said to me, when it's close to getting finished and it's really boiling quite well, then I must just switch the plate off and let it sort of cook and then eventually simmer and then eventually it will just set and nothing will burn. So I'm now applying that principle, and thanks to her, I'm having very rarely burnt offerings now, but I cannot tell you I burn them 100%. They do still happen.
So, you haven't quite learned from your failure. You're still making the mistake from time to time.
And what yeah, it happens that I just think about something I haven't done, or I haven't sent my WhatsApp, or I didn't reply to something, or something just happens, and if I leave that kitchen, sometimes forget to go back.
Well, I hope when I come to visit you and have dinner, we don't have any burnt offerings.
The last cake I baked in my life. No, I mustn't say last. I subsequently later did bake a cake about 2 or 3 years ago. I actually put the cake in the oven, and then I remembered I was supposed to be at a music lesson. So I charged off to the music lesson with the cake in the oven without telling my mother there's a cake in the oven. And secondly, on that particular day, I added a second cup of sugar. Don't ask me why, it just happened. So my mother had this like explosion in her oven. Firstly, not knowing there's a cake in it. Secondly, the sugar. I don't know if you know that if you have too much sugar, and then it actually boils over, but it first explodes and then it boils over. So she had this sticky, horrible oven. She called me out of my music lesson, and I had to come and help her clean that mess. Sure, that was the last cake I baked for many years.
Oh dear. Right. You made the statement beginning again. Do you want to tell us why you made that statement?
Yes, I think, for a long time in my life, Um, I was too nervous to actually take some of my own decisions. And I was so scared of getting things wrong that I forever had these mentors and coaches, and I still have them, but we need to select them well. But I ended up actually having all these Mr. and Mrs. Fix-Its around me, that felt, and I was so codependent on their opinions. And I unfortunately, in 2010, I reached a very interesting point, but it was a turning point in my life where I got fired. And so in the hearing, I was like amazed with what people came up with. So, for instance, I asked what are the templates we need to use. At the time, I was a business analyst. What's the templates I need to use to write these particular documents that we're looking for? And I got 3 or 4 people sending me templates, and no templates matched. Everything was the different templates. So I chose one of the strong team leaders. I chose his template and I started to work on it. Well, the lady that ended up being in charge of me was livid because I didn't do it her way. And they started to actually have me even on the red carpet about things like I used font 14 instead of font 12, instead of just worrying about the words that I've typed. Do you know what I'm saying? I know there was one guy, he even jumped forward and he said, and even the model she drew there is wrong. And then he looked at it and he went like, oh, no, she listened. She did fix it the way I told her it must look. And then he went like, oh, no, it's right. But there was this absolute attack that came on me on that day. And they fired me. So what I did is I just climbed in my car and I went to the CCMA. I did not make appointments, nothing. I just climbed those stairs, went up into the office and I said, what's the next step? And they said, oh, you do this and this and this and this. Scheduled appointment for me. A very long story short. A couple of weeks later, they had to pay me a very, very nice, handsome amount of money for the way they fired me. But in that period, what I was doing, Lois, I took the time out to read very good books about codependency, boundaries, all sorts of books that could help me to just become my own person and not be so dependent on other people's opinions. Because that's the reason why I asked people, what template should I use? I was so attached to other people must guide me that I couldn't even lead or guide myself. And I was always at the mercy of other people's opinions. And so I think what helped me beginning again there was I got myself a good psychologist. She sorted a lot of things in my thinking and all that kind of stuff. And I read a book a day. So I went to Starbucks because they made the most amazing coffee. At the time, I really enjoyed their coffee. And there was a certain chair. I went to go and sit in it. And I was not allowed to go home until the book was done. That was my job for the day. And so 8 o'clock, when those doors opened, it was just, I think 8:30, when the doors opened, I was there on my chair doing my reading thingy, and they were served me with food and everything during the day. And my book was done, I could go. But it really switched the way I perceived myself, how I saw myself, started to respect myself, started to understand I'm valuable and precious, and I do not need to be told how pathetic I am and how I'm supposed to do it right. Yes, I can see you want to ask or say something.
Before we go on to the the beginning again, let's just go back to the firing.
Yeah.
What did you feel at the time? How did you feel, and what lessons did that bring into your life?
I think at the time, obviously you feel like a complete failure because this is the ultimate verdict in your career. Like, we need to get rid of you. You are not suitable for this company. You know, that like ultimate rejection that you can get. Today, if you ask me what did I get out of it today, I'm so happy they fired me. If they didn't fire me, I wouldn't have opened my own company. I wouldn't have specialized in short-term projects, and I wouldn't have been successful in the contributions I made in that process that eventually got me to become a specialist. And eventually, when I ended up in opportunity to be in a longer contract again, when I resigned, they didn't accept my resignation. They asked me to please stay on just a couple of hours a week, but not nothing. We want something. Can you just give us something? So that's and the difference was me understanding what I'm bringing to the table, valuing what I'm bringing to the table. And I think it's good to find out what people need and want and require, but being so at the mercy of people's demands and opinions really complicated the way I could be myself, and it wasn't possible.
So again, going back to the actual firing, what you said, you didn't dwell in self-pity, you went straight, you took action, you went straight to the CCMA to lodge a complaint.
That was 12 minutes later, I was on CCMA's floor, like, what now? What's the next step?
But that's such an important lesson, is to take action.
Yeah.
I think it's important to feel that emotion. So you felt useless and unloved. And it's important that you acknowledge that feeling. But it's also very important that you let go of those feelings and take action. Because by taking that action, you're overcoming any negative emotion.
Yeah. And I think I can't say I didn't cry, but I didn't cry immediately. I was just shocked, paralyzed, like, I need to do something about this to rescue actions. And then once those, once that was all in play, I could then actually go to a psychologist and say, I really need help. There I could cry, could break down. And she was absolutely brilliant. Just to bring me, industrial psychologist, to bring me up back in a line, sort the career, sort the thing going forward, and just get me up and running again. That was a very strategic move as well. That really, really saved me.
So there's a number of lessons that have come out: is feel those emotions, you're allowed to take action and seek support.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I must say, one of the fixers around me came to me with, you need to read this book, The Evil Child. And so the one person said it to me, and then the partner said to me, oh, hey, Marriet, you need to read this book, The Evil Child. You'll totally see yourself in it, and you'll see why you have all these problems. And I was like, okay. So I bought Evil Child, and I read it, okay? Yuck. And I realized that in their eyes, I'm the most evil thing that happened on earth. And I took it to the psychologist, and it was so funny. She said, this is absolute rubbish. She was like very angry. And then one of the people wanted to phone her to now give an explanation why they think I'm so evil. And she said, okay, let them call me. They thought they still gonna explain why I'm evil. She washed their heads for them and said, you never ever judge a book. You never buy its cover, and you never ever just label people and all that kind of stuff. And they got the spanking of their lives. And she just said to me, no, I was just, there's a few things I needed to shift to actually, and you know what, I became a better team player. So I'm a very good team player. I can take instruction. I'm very teachable. But there's a big difference between still being your own person in your own right and actually applying logic and your own mind and not doing things because you fear somebody or you want to please somebody, but to do something because it's the right thing to do. There's a huge difference. And a lot of us are sometimes like, I found myself this morning, I'm playing a computer game, and I'm in a team, and we're playing against each other, and I broke the rule. Oh my word. And there's this person that's on me, and he's like really on me. We then figured out I didn't do anything wrong. Actually, it is another team that actually kicked off the tournament. It wasn't me. And they've actually now subsequently figured it out. But I found this morning, instead wanting to withdraw, then I decided, no, I'm going to own my mistake and say, I'm sorry. I'll understand if you guys want to let me go. But at the same time, they say to me, okay, click on this and tell us what you see. Click on this. Oh, no. Okay, what's the ranking of this? Where do we sit with this? Then they eventually realized the other team kicked it off, you see. And then that conversation went the other way. So if I ran away, you know that fight and flight concept that they're talking about. This morning I nearly took a flight, but I also opted not to fight. I decided to be meek, to be understanding, to understand I messed up their tournament. And then I realized I didn't mess up the tournament just because I stayed calm and because I stayed peaceful and I was loving and compassionate in the process. I've actually won them over. Now they don't want me to leave. So, Lois, I think that's where we need to be. We don't need to fight or flight. We just need to love people with compassion and meet them where they're at.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So going back to your beginnings, you sat in Starbucks and you read a book a day. That is quite an achievement.
I think it was 20 days, so it was like 20 books. I was like booked out after that, eh?
But this is what's so important that comes after a failure is that if you develop a growth mindset and you say, what has this given me? How can I improve? How can I grow and develop as a result of that setback? And that's exactly what you did, which brought you to where you are today.
Completely a new phase of my life. So now listen, our God actually met me in this process. So I end up in Cape Town for an interview. And it's really a expert. He's quite senior in the Microsoft ranks and everything. And so he asked me what happened at this organization that you needed to leave. But he knew. See, I didn't know he knew. Okay. So my answer was, and I think this is what I also want to bring across today. My answer to him was, I don't really want to wash the dirty washing and throw them under the bus. I am prepared, however, to ask very specific questions. So if you ask me very specific questions, then I'll answer those. But I don't really want to do the washing and, and throw them under the bus. And then he smiled, and I remember he's got a nice dimple. And he smiled with a dimple smile. And he said to me, your old team member that used to be that I actually reported to Mr. V, I'm going to call him Mr. V for this, okay? I'm here for a project, and he's working with me. And I told him I'm interviewing you today. And he said to me, oh, shame, I feel so sorry for what happened to you. And he said, what happened? And he gave the perspective from their side as well as what management's done to me. And then this guy that interviewed me said, I know everything. And I decided to give you a break. You have the job. Because Mr. V explained to me how well you actually do things and how competent you are. And we need your skill. So that's it. Go to the job. Can you start tomorrow? And I said, yes. That's it.
Honesty. Being open and honest and not trying to pretend something else happened.
I think what I've learned on that, to be fired is not it's not a life-ending situation. Being fired is just the death of one career or one business opportunity where you're working, but it gives birth to a new opportunity. And it's not the end of the world. It's not. It's not the end of you either as a person. And this is what I've realized, that was the beginning of a very, very exciting. And I would have still been an employee today. And with that, I don't want to say it's anything wrong being an employee. But for me and the growth I needed to do, I needed to become an independent contractor, opening my own business, running my own company, working for myself, working with other people, going in joint ventures and explore all of that worldwide. I work in New York now. I work online in New York. I work online in South Africa. I have the privilege of working for the department of the Premier and the Premier's office in his IT department. And I wouldn't have had any of that if these people didn't fire me.
And sorry, it also comes to resigning. I resigned once with the real expectation that they were going to talk me out of it. and when they didn't, I was devastated. When they said, okay, bye, I was actually devastated because I really didn't want to leave. But again, it also took me on a whole new journey in a whole new direction, and it was so worthwhile in the long run.
I think the moment we want to feel needed, and that's in relationships and in everything in our lives, not just at work. You already have an agenda and you're serving another agenda than actually just loving somebody, meeting them compassionately where they're at, and actually being a participant and a role player and bringing your own value to the team. And the moment you have that shift, we have an agenda. I'm doing this so that you can actually accept me. Well, you are going to lose, and then people feel that disconnect. They don't feel you. They feel this expectation that comes with you. And I've learned that it's hard. It's hard sometimes. Like this morning, I felt very rejected, and then I was like, no, don't make it about you. It's not about you. All right. It's not about you. You messed up this team's tournament. Take responsibility. See how you can bounce back. And when the conversation went, I was like, oh, thank God I didn't mess up the tournament. I would have known that. If I had to leave with fight or flight today, I would have never known I didn't mess up the tournament. I actually served myself as well by just hanging in there patiently with love and compassion.
Love and compassion. I love that. Okay.
Loving
So,
somebody. Sometimes we fear people. Do you know that opposite of fear is love? And I'm not talking about romantic love. I'm talking about if you fear somebody, you should actually start to see what you can love about them and start to love what they bring to the moment or whatever. And I'm not saying having abusive and that kind of people around in your space. I'm not talking about people abusing you and all of that. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking in general. The moment we fear or respond out of a fear, we are going to already fail. We need to find in ourselves that moment where we can actually respond from a place of love.
it's also not only with fear, but it's with dislike or something that you don't appreciate about a person. It's often reflecting back at you something about yourself that you need to acknowledge.
I think, Lois, I think one of the other things I want to mention was, the people who got me to read the evil book. I never told them anything about my life ever again. I didn't keep them and trust them or whatever, because they gossiped about me, and then it had a ripple effect in Cape Town where people actually thought, oh, shame, she can't keep a job. And it was because of those people who gossiped down to people they knew in Cape Town who happened to know me too. So I decided to rather keep to myself and have a selected few people around me who knows the inside or a little bit of space in my life. Very few, okay, I can count them on my hand. But recently, something happened, and one of those people asked me, "So how are you doing, and where are you working now?" And I answered it truthfully. Now I'm actually I've got multi careers running. Okay, so I answered it truthfully, and it ended up being like quite a bit of information. And this person wrote back to me, "What company?" And I was like, "I opened it 12 years ago." And it's been doing very good, very well, and they were actually shocked that I became this dark horse in the back. But I needed to lose their control. And that doesn't mean I didn't go for coaching. I had a fantastic business coach, Bruce Wade. They really helped me to build my business, to understand models, to understand what I'm offering, what's a niche, what's a whatever. I think those people are important. But the moment somebody starts to tell you, this is your company name and this is what you need to do and whatever, that's it. You need to get out, because what we bring to the world must be what's coming, from our own hearts. That's God inspired, not somebody else telling us through our ears and our eyes what they want us to do and be. And I think I really needed to come in to be my own person. That was the toughest part of the journey, actually.
So another lovely 2 lessons there. Be yourself, be your unique self, and also find that support in a coach or a mentor or somebody that can be there to guide you. So, Marriet, what tips can you give anybody other than what we've already discussed? What tips can you give anybody who's either been fired or faced some other terrible failure?
I've got a seminar beginning again. I think the grief cycle is the foundation of that whole thing. Okay. So whether we like it or not, we are going to, there's certain emotions we are going to feel. And the first thing is the shock, feeling paralyzed that it really happened. And then you get like angry. Ooh, I don't want this. This must go away. And then you go through the phase like you start to negotiate. It's like, oh, if I do this, maybe if I can do that. You'll find ladies that when they win a boyfriend over, they will go like, I'll lose 10 kilograms and then I'll actually have the right body, to qualify, kind of thing. They negotiate and you start to bargain and all that. And nothing of that works. And then you hit depression. And then depression is that turning point where you actually need to forgive. It's very interesting in the Kubler-Ross grief cycle. It is that turning point where you forgive, and it's forgiving yourself, forgiving whoever contributed to this mess, and to forgive. I love the Ho'oponopono prayer, that a lot of people are praying across the world, where you absolutely forgive and you love somebody and you set the person free. You know why? Because that's the only way in that turning point that you can shoot up to actually rebuild your life or rebuild the moment, and then to grow into wisdom. And wisdom is experience knowledge. So then you can look back and you can actually learn from what happened to you. So I would say, don't be scared to go through all the emotions, because one day you're going to kill somebody, next day, not kill, you're going to feel you want to kill somebody. And the next day you're going to actually love somebody and bargain. And then the next day you want to do this. But the faster we can get to forgiveness, the quicker we can actually stop the grief cycle and start to build into wisdom. I think rebuilding out of the disaster is from forgiveness. And forgiveness doesn't mean it's okay what somebody has done. It's not forgiveness. And a lot of people think, in Afrikaans, the Cape Malay, they've got a beautiful saying, and I'll translate it in English, in Afrikaans. And they say, jy drink die gif en dan dink jy die ander persoon met vrek. And it's not like that. Is you can't poison and think that the person you're not forgiving is going to die because you don't forgive them. You're hurting yourself. You're hurting your own future. You can't rebuild a life for as long as you don't forgive. And so forgiveness is that little key. And I would like to advocate that. Forgive.
Well, as you probably know, forgiveness is my thing. I call myself Lois, your friend, for forgiveness. And what I want people to understand about forgiveness is that at the beginning, when you're in that first phase that you spoke about on the Kubler-Ross model, in that first phase when you're angry or scared or whatever the emotion is, there's no way you can forgive at that point, because you've got to still deal with those emotions. You've got to come out of that. You've got to deal with those emotions before you can forgive. So when people say, oh, I can never forgive that, it's because they are still in that first phase and they haven't yet come out of that and learn how to forgive. Yes, and forgiveness is definitely that catapult into, I call it a benefit mindset, where you can say, what I've learned now, I can not only benefit for myself, but I can benefit other people as well.
Yes. So Lois, that affects our productivity. And I just want to say that in closure, that you sometimes have this paralyzed feeling and this thing always weighing on you while you're working on stuff, you're talking, you're working in teams, and you're trying to work on projects. There's always this like thing on your shoulders, And I've seen people not forgiving for 14 years, 16 years, and they have this attitude like, I'll never forgive this person. We don't understand the hardship we bring over our own lives. A lot of times, those people don't even know what you're feeling emotionally and that you're not forgiving them. They don't even know it. They don't care whether you forgive them or not forgive them. But the moment we can let go of that unwanted stuff that happened to us and really just let it go, really letting it go, letting all of that stuff go, we will actually feel the difference. We'll feel the difference here, and we'll have a clarity of mind, and it will just shape everything in a different direction. And then, like I said earlier, the God factor, God will step in and work things together for good.
Lovely way to end our discussion. So, Marriet, how can people contact you?
In the link, I think you are going to put my Tidy Cow link. So just book 30 minutes with me. It's free of charge, and have a conversation with me. I'm happy to chat with you, whatever it takes. Whatever it's about what we chatted today, or you just want to explore something or discover something, you're most welcome to contact me, book me for a meeting.
Thank you, Marriet. And as well, you can contact me. The link is also below. You can book a 30-minute call with me to find out what steps you can take to overcome your failure. Or if you would like to give a talk on this channel, you can also book an appointment to be a guest on this podcast. Thank you very much, Marriet. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and have a